Oh, testing, testing. Okay, now, boys and girls, welcome to part 4 of our video, right? Now, you see in this video, I actually do not include myself, my face in the video because somehow my two cameras are glitching together, right? So I can only choose to use one camera. So, of course, for the purpose of teaching, we are going to keep the visualizer camera on, right? So 嗱，今次咧見唔到個樣啦，你唯有相信鏡頭背後嗰個係 Leo Chan 嘅啫，得唔得啊？冇辦法啦，好嗎？Okay, now for this video and for the following videos, maybe video, this is video number 4, maybe number 5 and number 6. We are going to keep to the topic of per unit subsidy because you already know in our previous 3 videos, right? We are done with the per unit tax, right? Now, so it sounds like per unit subsidy sounds like the opposite of per unit tax, right? So a lot of things seems like would just be the opposite, right? Now, it's true in some sense, but it's also not true in other sense, right? Now, that's why when we talk about a per unit subsidy, don't just think, oh, it's 簡單啦，係咪 easy, right? We just opposite. No, 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 no. You still need to pay attention and you still need to use the brain, right? 嗱，我哋睇翻個 definition 啦。The definition is still about a subsidy of the same amount of on each unit of a product sold imposed on the producer. 記住下，我哋係講緊 producer 好嘛？ It's imposed on the producer, right? Now, so what would be the effect? Now, if you remember here, if we have subsidy, basically 嗱，其實唔啱嘅呢句 but you can think of it like this, right? You can think of it like this. It's basically our production cost decreases. And because for each unit sold, you will get this, let's say $5 for 1 unit. Then you sell 2 units, you get $10, right? You see, this is a variable cost. 其實係 variable cost 跌咗啊。So what will happen? We know that supply would increase, 係嘛？原來我哋 supply 會升啦。Okay, our supply would increase, right? 好啦，即係咩意思咧？ Here, of course, demands remains unchanged. In fact, if anything changed, it would be the quantity demanded because of a change in price, right? 好啦，跟住答 Here, supply would increase. 好啦，咁簡單啦，係咪啊？ So when supply increases, so what happens to the price? Price will decrease and quantity transacted will increase. Now that would also answer the question, what is the objective of a subsidy, right? The subsidy is actually to encourage the production and or 嗱，你今次見我用嘅字係 it can be and or 嗱，我唔知邊個啊，係咪 and or either one depend on situation. Encourage production and or consumption of a product 係咪？其實鼓勵啲人咧去做，或者鼓勵啲人咧去食一啲嘢。OK 好嘛？ Now here what happens to the total expenditure to the buyer？ 嗱，記住啦 ，total expenditure refers to TE equals to P times Q. Now, obviously, in our case, P drop, Q increases. So do you know what happens to TE? Of course, we don't know. Depends on elasticity of demand. 大家識㗎啦，呢個係咪啊 ？Doctor level mathematics。好啦 ，for the next one, total revenue to sellers， 我哋諗翻啦。嗱 ，of course we are talking about after subsidy， 我哋梗係話計埋 subsidy 之後啦。Total revenue equals to P times Q. Now this one we don't know, but remember, we also need to add in the subsidy amounts. Okay, so can you make a guess what will happen? I think you already know the answer. Of course, total revenue would increase, right? Right? Why? 點解啊? Now think about it, right? The objective is to encourage production, 係咪？而家我哋係想佢做多啲啊嘛。How do we encourage production? By improving their revenue or profit, 係咪？我係想佢賺多啲，所以做多啲啊嘛。If somehow after the subsidy, my revenue decreases, then what will I do? I will produce less. 我梗係唔做啦，係咪啊？咁嗱，見唔見啊？It contradicts our objective, right? So if this decrease, it doesn't make sense, okay? Now, is there any case that it doesn't change? Yes, of course, right? But let's leave it to the extreme cases, okay? And what happens to the government? Government would actually need to pay something we call government expenditure. 其實呢啲錢政府俾㗎嘛。係嘛 ？So they have to pay an expenditure. OK，好嘛？嗱，how do we operate graphically？咁啊，graphically 我哋點畫咧？睇住咯噃，here。Now, luckily, we have already learned tax. Therefore, subsidy will be relatively easier. 嗱，不過有個 skill 嘅。Now, remember when we draw subsidy, okay? When we draw subsidy, we leave a little bit of buffer here. 你唔好咧起勢咧，一開波咧就當呢條 S1。嗱，唔好嘅，this is not a good practice, okay？係嘛 ？In fact, let's call this S2, okay? S1 咧呢度留翻少少空間，and leave some space in the y-axis, okay? And this one. Let's call this S1. Okay, now we know tax is an upward shift. So by the same token, right, subsidy is a downward shift. Okay, we will know why very soon when we look at the tables. Okay, 好嘛？好啦，嗱，記住啊 the same logic applies. We are concerned with Q2. 我哋係 Q2 啊。We are concerned with Q2. So follow the step and don't draw it in a stupid way. Okay? 記住或者 Q2 先。So here we have P1. Here we have P2. Do you see it drops? Okay, it drops. And of course, now we are ready to put Q1, it increases. OK 嗱，但係未畫完嘅呢度未畫完嘅。OK 好嘛？嗱，this is why we highlight Q2. Remember, for subsidy and tax, this is not the end. We also need to go all the way to here, okay, to Q2. And we need to have a reference. 嗱，呢度撞到呢度嘛，見唔見啊？我哋懟上嚟撞到上面條 supply curve 啊。We also need to give a reference. Let's call this P3. 嗱，今次有啲複雜啦。嗱，things would get a little bit dicey here. Okay, now why I say so? First of all, let's see TE. What is TE? TE is simply P times Q. 咁我哋而家新 P 喺邊啊 ？P2 Q2. So this box, now I will draw this one. The blue one, 嗱我畫出嚟啊。The blue one down here. This is P2, this is 0, this is Q2, and this the cross section, okay, the intersection, okay. This one P times Q. This is our TE. 呢個咪我哋嘅 total expenditure 咯，好嘛？ Now, then what is going on here? 而家雖然我淨係賣 P2 咁多件 ，right? But what is this? This vertical distance is our per unit subsidy. 原來我每買一件 whenever I sell a good, the government will give me this amount of money. And how many goods am I selling? I'm selling this one. The red box. 係咪啊 ？Q2，我而家係 Q2 咁多件啊。So this one, Q2 and P3 minus P2 here. This one, this box. This is P3. This is still Q2. And this box is what we call the subsidy. 原來呢嚿就係政府總共要俾出嚟嘅 subsidy 啦。Okay? And if you remember, total revenue is P times Q, which is TE plus subsidy. Then what does it mean? It means that this one, this green one, 呢個綠色呢個啊。This green one, which is the sum of TE and subsidy, the green one would simply be our total revenue. Of course, this is after subsidy 見唔見啊？ So how has it changed? Okay, used to be P1 Q1 原先 P1 Q1 嘅嘛 now is P3 Q2. So what is the increase? Of course, if you remember, is our favorite Curtis polygon. Okay, this 7係咪呢個7字啦 this Curtis polygon, right, would be our increase in total revenue after subsidy. OK， 好嘛？原來個 graph 嘅操作就係咁做啦。OK， so this is a graphical operation of a per unit subsidy. Again, right? Now, you see I do it quite easily, right? But it takes time to practice, especially reminder for Q2. 你見好樣衰嘅，全部飛晒 Q2，係啱㗎。They will overlap. This is correct. OK， 係樣衰㗎。Okay, that's why you need practice. So my advice, right? Now, if you really understand what is going on here, then you can continue with the video, right? But if you do not fully get what we have just talked about, right? My advice is you need to pause the video and then watch it again until you know what is going on here. Okay, 好嗎? Now, then let's look at some figure example. What exactly is going on here? Okay, now first of all, we need to check the original equilibrium and the quantity transactor. 我哋望一望先啊，又係啦，照舊啦。This one QD equals to QS. So the original equilibrium price is simply $3. Okay, and the equilibrium quantity transactor would be 6 units. Okay, 掂唔掂? Now suppose the government impose a per unit subsidy of $2 on good wine. We need to determine these things, right? Now, first of all, let's change the table. 嗱，而今次同 tax 咧係同樣道理嘅。It's just we just do the opposite. For example, used to be $5. I'm willing to supply 10 units, right? 而家我使唔使5蚊咁多啊？其實唔使喎 I just need $3 because the government will give me $2 more. So the new QS will simply becomes 10. 見唔見啊？由呢度5蚊變3蚊。Then here $4 used to be 8 units. Now I only need $2. This one. You see, right? So what would the new equilibrium point would be this one? 8, 8, and $2. Okay, so let's see. New equilibrium price would be $2, while the QT would be 8 units. Okay, so what is the total expenditure? 記住啦。Total expenditure simply P times Q, which is $16, 16蚊。Okay, while the total revenue 嗱，我哋括住啊 we are talking about after subsidy， 我哋係計埋 subsidy 之後啦 then is simply P times Q plus the subsidy amount。OK， 好啦，點計啊？嗱，上面要計咗啦，16蚊。What is the subsidy amount? OK， 嗱，記住啊 ，per unit subsidy is $2， 每件要俾每件我收多2蚊。How many units am I selling? I'm selling 8 units。而家我咪賣緊8件出去OK, so I will get $32 as my total revenue. So you see the operation is actually exactly the same as that of tax. We only do things opposite. 係咪？我哋由本身貴嘅變平，而 tax 係本身平嘅變貴。Okay, it's just the opposite, the inverse. Okay, for those of you who love mathematics, right? It's just the inverse. 好嘛 now let's then look at 有幾多 example? Oh, only one page of a past paper example, and then we can call an end for this video, which is good. OK, 好嘛，我哋望望啦。Now this is 2014係咪？今次2014嘅題目啦，好嘛？ Let's see how it is going. Now first of all, let's check the original. Original should be this one. 80 係咪一樣啦？ So $3, 80 units, 3蚊80件。Okay, I think we have no problem with this one. right? 係嘛? Now let's see what we can conclude. Okay, for example, the total sales revenue will be $200 when it is $2.我哋望望啦 if somehow the price end up at $2， 假設而家啦係2蚊呢度 ，then what would be the QT？QT and QS 啊？唔係咁睇嘅。For those of you who are clear mind, you know we look at the smaller number. So here, actually, if we are only $2, we can only sell for 75 units, which is 150. So not the answer we want. 我第二個啦 there would be a shortage of 25 units when the government imposed a price floor at $4. 我哋諗諗先嘛 what is a price floor? It is a minimum price， 唔準低過4蚊。好啦，而家啦，本身3蚊 originally we are at $3. Are we lower than $4? Yes. Therefore, we would have to end up at here 係喎，原來真係會俾人推高咗喎，係咪啊 ？Now we are going to be pushed up。OK， 好啦，4蚊發生咩事啊 ？You see QS is larger than QD. What do we call this? This is an excess supply. Or like your classmate mentioned, this is a surplus. For those of you who get it, this is actually World War III. OK， 好嘛？But anyway, World War III is not shortage. So this is still not correct. OK， 又唔啱啦，好嘛？好啦，跟住睇下啦。When a per 唔係爬，唔好意思啊。When a per unit subsidy of 2 units was granted to the seller， 咁我哋要試下啦。If we have a $2 subsidy, what will happen? Originally $4, I will supply 100 units. Now I just need $2， 係咪？因為政府俾翻2蚊我啊。This one 100 and this one 80. The rest I don't know。之後嗰啲唔知啦，係咪呢個都知，係咪褪2蚊啊嘛？120， 其他唔知啦。So what will be the new equilibrium? We will see that the new equilibrium should be this one, $2. Then 100 units. 係咪應該係2蚊100件啦 ？Okay, let's see. Total revenue including subsidy would increase by this amount. 我哋試下計下啦。Originally, this one, the total revenue, this one. Let's call it TR1. Okay, TR1 is simply 240. 240蚊，唔使啦，唔使小算盤啦，係咪啊 ？Now what about the new total revenue after subsidy? Will be this one, 2 times 100. 但係夠未啊？未夠。We also have a $2 subsidy, and we are selling 100 units, right? That would be 400. When compare, do you see that our total revenue has increased by 160? 係咪 After, right? So C is the answer. 啱啦，冇錯啦。When a per unit subsidy of 2 units, okay, the equilibrium would drop to 1, 唔係 drop by 1 to 2, 唔係 drop to 1啦。Okay, so answer C here. Okay, 好嘛？ Now one more, and then we can end this relatively short video on the basics of per unit subsidy. Okay, 好啦，第二個啦。2016， 好啦，見親2016都唔慌好嘢㗎啦，好嘛 ？Okay, so here we are given the demand and supply, right? So original 我哋照舊啊 ，the original situation is $60, 10 units。係啱唔啱先？係咪都係得嘛？60蚊10件。Okay, now which of the following is correct? If the government provides a per unit subsidy of $20, or according to some of you is $20, okay, 好嘛？如果你20蚊啦 then let's change the QS。點變啊 ？Originally $60 I will sell 不如呢度計啊，$90 I will sell 16 unit。咦，而家使唔使90啊？No, no need, right? We can sell it at 70 because the government will give me subsidy。如此類推啦 ，we shift 係嘛 ？We basically horizontal shift the whole thing. So what would be the new equilibrium? We see that the new is actually here. Okay, the new would be $50, 12 units. OK 50蚊12件 OK the total revenue including the subsidy will be this one 我哋計下咪知咯係嘛 TR2 will be this one $50 times 12 units but is it the end? No I still need to get something from the government $20 times 12 okay which let's see this one would be 600 right 600 plus this one 240 which is 840咦中咗咯噃係咪啊 so this one total revenue including the subsidy is this one okay is this one OK 好吧嗱我哋睇埋其他 B the total subsidy granted by the government 但係計咗啦240 right we know this is not 200 right now what about C and D within the range of the original and the new market price the elasticity of demand is smaller than 1 how do you calculate first way you can calculate the arc elasticity 嗱你自己計啦 good luck 啦我唔計俾你睇啦 OK or second way is simply using our doctor level mathematics 好啦呢度我哋望望啦on total expenditure remember total expenditure equals to P times Q doctor level mathematics right 好啦我哋望望啦 original 600 now what about new TE seems that is also 600 so this one doesn't change when price decreases this doesn't change how do we balance the equation they should be the same speed so what does it mean about the elasticity of demand actually exactly equals to 1一定要1先得喎係嘛 or else it's going to change right so C is also not the answer the change in total revenue 肯定唔係咪先 the change in total revenue of its complement is uncertain 肯定唔係 why think about it let's call this good A when the quantity of A increases if this is a complement relationship so what happens to the demand of our complement it should increase so P times Q both increases it means that our total revenue of the complement must increase it's not uncertain answer A okay 好嘛 now if I'm not mistaken yes that will be the first part about the basic logic okay the basic logic of tax of subsidy of apprentice subsidy right so for the next video we're going to look at the more difficult one the definitions and the operations 我睇有冇多唔多題目先 definitions and operations of subsidy benefit which is going to get a little bit difficult and then the final video is going to get the most difficult okay so I will see you very soon in the next video bye bye